All right, welcome once again to Lessons from Leaders. We are joined here today by Rich Maloney, the founder and CEO of Engage and Grow and Quality Mind.
Thank you, Marvin. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
All right, so where in the world are you right now?
At the moment, I'm actually at the office in Melbourne, and temporarily back to Mexico on Sunday and a few other destinations after that. It's good to be home.
All right. Yeah, and you just came back from Madrid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So while I have you, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, if that's okay.
Yes,
the first one, Rich. So with Engage and Grow, you work with a lot of teams. In particular, the emphasis is on improving engagement, right? Mm-hmm. So how would you define engagement?
Well, I define engagement when people come to work and they do more than is expected.
There's also a lot of companies doing surveys on employee happiness, and how does the two differ?
Yeah, I don't think they do, Mark. I really don't. I think if you're happy, you're engaged. If you're not happy, you're usually disengaged. It's a pretty simple methodology, you know. People either come to work and they do less than is expected. They're actively disengaged. People come to work and they just do what is expected. And we call them disengaged because they're usually coming at 9, leaving at 5, whatever the hours are. Then you've got your engaged, who come to work and do more than is expected. And they're happier people, generally happier. And so the system applies nearly across the whole world.
Yeah. And before Engage and Grow, working with companies and business teams, you spend a lot of time working with professional sports teams.
Still do.
I still do. Yeah. So I'm just wondering as well, like from any of those team dynamics that you're seeing, what are some of the key traits or the symptoms of dysfunctional teams?
Dysfunctional teams. Well, they quite simply, there's a lot of gossip, backstabbing, inequality, and complaining. So when I walk the corridors of an elite team, and if I see people, just gossiping or complaining about the coaches or someone else's performance or whatever it may be, I know there's a cultural issue, because culture, a high performance culture, is quite simply when everyone is heading and thinking in the same direction, when everyone's thinking on task, as opposed to a bad culture or a low performing culture is when everyone has their own ideas on how things should be done around here and who should be doing what and who should be doing that. So the whole process is obviously aligning everyone's thinking to the common vision.
So I guess it's just breaking down the silo, sort of short-term thinking, sort of my department, my KPI, to become our company, our team.
Yeah, that's right. And breaking down inequality and making sure as much equality as possible in the organisation, removing victims, and just breaking cliques, which is silos.
How different or how similar do you find working with professional teams and sports teams and business teams? Are there any parallels there?
Look, there's more at stake with an elite team, because you can be sacked instantly and without reason. I mean, yes, there's contracts involved, but they don't care. If you're and you've only got a small window of opportunity to play at the elite level because of usually the age demographic you're at. And so there's more at stake, and so there's more, as a better attitude, and there's more drive, as opposed to the working culture, the working organisation. Look, it really comes down to how ambitious they are as an individual and the quality of leadership. So have dynamic and united leadership at the top of the tree, who are all about cultivating, empowering, nurturing, developing, and inspiring. Then you're going to create a high-performing organisation. However, there's the urgency behind that too, because they know they're in a comfortable position most of the time and might not get the bullet as quickly as they would if they were an elite sports team.
Right. So from your experience, what have you seen work in terms of what some business leaders can do to create a sense of urgency around their team?
Well, it's really about getting everyone on the same page. The most important thing is making sure the leadership group is united. And they're on task with their focus and their vision, and they've all bought into where the company's going, and there's high levels of transparency, there's high levels of communication, and there's an environment where it's It's about problem solving your way through in an open forum, and just everyone being held accountable to their job at hand and not crossing over different jobs, and being very clear on what they need to bring for the success of that team. And so once you get that, obviously that top group really humming, and not really, when leaders get to a leadership position, and they're actually shouldn't be there because they've been there the longest, or they're, these sorts of political games play out, then you're going to interrupt the energetic flow of high performance, purely because they're just not energetically suited to be at the top of the tree. So get that group right, and then it's about making everyone see the vision, and not only that, buy into the vision based on behaviours, based on their creativity, and getting their buy-in emotionally to what's happening. So the ability of the leader to listen intently and to generally lead people and not manage people is really, through action, is the essence of success.
It's interesting that you mentioned listening as one of the key things. I guess a lot of people tend to associate leading with telling or saying things, as opposed to actually listening with the heart.
Yeah, that's a big issue. Big issue.
Yeah, maybe you can share a bit with the listeners here. One of the key frameworks that you use with Engage and Grow is the heart and the brain of an organization. Like, how does that relate to the behavior of a leader?
Well, 9 times out of 10, when someone comes to the workplace, they've got a job description, a job role, and off they go and they perform that. A lot of the times what organisations don't do well, because it's, I guess, especially from a male-dominated world, you could say, is to focus more on the heart of the business. And the heart of the business is your relationships, your communication, your culture, your leadership. Okay, that's your heart of the business. But then the brain of the business is all about your systems, your processes, your products, your governance. And so there's that. So there's really two key elements to business success, like there is in the human body, the two major organs in the human body. So when you've got the heart of an organisation really healthy, and because that's what we do, we've got to get our leaders really focusing on just little tasks each week or each fortnight on fixing the heart of the business, as opposed to fixing the brain of the business, because they should be doing the brain of the business all the time anyway. So we've got to redirect their focus over here. And what happens is the heart starts pumping a lot bigger and a lot healthier, which means blood, is more oxygenated and flows to the brain of the business and every other organ far quicker and with more oxygen. So everything else gets fixed organically. So when you focus on the heart, the rest of the organisation, more or less, looks after itself.
Yeah, so I guess it's sort of like building the culture, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people associate culture with just like some key words, but ultimately it's these actions around the heart that builds the culture.
Yeah, that's right. Because once you really impact the heart, people understand who you are from here, as opposed to what you do in the organisation, which is do, as opposed to who are you? How are you doing? What's happening? Let's hear more about that. Have you got any other ideas? And building that connection from the heart is irreplaceable. Once you get that connection from the heart, then things just, like the trust improves, the communication improves, the care factor obviously improves. Turning into a company where communication is more transparent and things just get done far quicker than ever. So that's why it's a simple exercise to do each week. Each leader or each employee, doesn't matter who you are, start assessing what areas of the heart that they need to work on. So they globally look at the business and they can see down into the business and say, we need to improve this area, communication, break down silo, improve our leadership, our trust with each other, and get them to work on it, not the leaders so much, as opposed to the CEO.
Yeah. I'm just going to shift a little bit to ask you about individuals now. So you had mentioned high performance before, and you work with high performance individual athletes as well. How would you describe a high performing individual? What do you need to see for them to be considered high performing?
Oh, well, quite simply, they've just got a 100 total commitment to the focus of what they've got to achieve. There's just get the hell out of my way. It's like, I'm going in that direction and I'm going there no matter what. And so that's discussion in their mind, and that choice, pretty much, once you've got that ingrained into your whole psyche, you can more or less achieve anything you want. So they know they've got, obviously, especially at the elite level, they've nurtured a skill or skills that's got them into that environment. And certainly they're born, there's certain necessities that you need to be born with. But then it's a total focus to what they're going to achieve. And it's just laser-like vision, you could say, that just takes over. So that pretty much sums it up. They've just got this knowing that they're on the right track, that they're living their passion, and they know what they need to achieve and get out of my way.
Yeah. And for an elite athlete, someone possibly in their 20s, they spent probably about 20 years really nurturing that and focusing on their goal, what they want to achieve. But for the corporate athlete who may have ended up in a career at a later stage in their life, they never thought that they were going to do this job. Is that something that's possible to be ingrained in their psyche as well? Or is that just something that you have to spend a lot of time nurturing?
Look, it's a big question because, 80% of people don't really want to do what they're doing. So then you're going through the motions in the workplace to turn yourself into a high-performing thinker. I mean, there's probably not enough why in their system to really drive the energy to be that high-performing worker. So, I mean, what's to just throw the balls in the air and say, let's go and do something different? I mean, life's short. If you're just going through the ho-hum of a job and you're trying to motivate your way through, that means that more or less says your style. If your job is one of your highest excitements, I'd get out and go and look for your highest excitement. That's a really big thing here. Everything you do in life, if you want to know what your soul's journey is, your soul's journey is always following your highest excitement. If you're not too sure what to do this weekend, then choose the options and see what makes you the most excited. That is where you need to go. If it's a job, if it's a relationship, if it's your financial, whatever it may be, the key North Star is it more excited to go that direction or that direction? You've got to follow that because that's what your soul, or you want to call it your essence, your energy is telling you. So if you're in an employment that you're not excited about, really make a big call because it'll be impacting your family, it'll be impacting the quality of your life and your sleep and so forth. So, I just call it as it is because I've done that. I was employed by someone many times and I just wasn't living my true potential. So,
yeah, no, it's true. I mean, we see a lot of sort of these zombies, right? They just rock up to work and then they wait for the weekend and they're too tired to do anything. And then next thing you know, it's game over. Lots of waste of time. Yeah, sleepwalkers. So for yourself then, what are some of your key disciplines that you have around living a high performance life? I mean, you're on the go constantly. You're running 2 sort of global businesses, at least that I know of, and you're working with clients as well. So what are some of your key disciplines?
Yeah. Look, I have a couple of key disciplines. I meditate daily, if not once or twice. Wake up in the morning, I go straight into meditation. Which I've designed an app for called Quality Mind, the app, Quality Mind Global. It's an application coming out. And I'm always monitoring my thinking, because I know within me, there's 2 beasts. There's like a child that thinks immaturely, and there's actually like my soul or master, you call it, that knows where I need to go. And if I listen to this one, then I know I'm on track and I know I make good decisions. I know I'm more understanding and caring. And I know that I can release control a lot, but I know where I'm going, as opposed to listening to, you could say, the childish voice in your head, because there actually are maybe 2 or 3, but if you listen here, that'll hold you down. It'll talk to you nastily. It doesn't want you to fly. It's about keeping you safe. Your song's about keeping you safe. So once you separate the 2 and you focus over here, Very simple to do, but it's a habit. Because if you look at your thinking all the time, there's a lot of unresourceful or sabotage type thinking that goes on in your head all the time, which allows you to procrastinate, which allows you to give excuses, which allows you to get upset with people and not look for the gift in every moment of life. So consistently traveling my thinking over here, meditating, and just not taking life too seriously. But I know where I'm going. I know all my direction. I can see my vision. Actually, I'm always creating my future. Literally, I'll sit down once a day, or if not once every couple of days, and I'll actually sit and manifest my future and design it. And it's really, it just comes true. So you create your own reality as opposed to hope for a great reality. So there's a difference between hoping and knowing. Big difference. Hoping and maybe believing as opposed to knowing where you're going. And I guess there's a bit of I'll do it at all costs, but not to the degree of a high-performing athlete in my world, just knowing that the vision for my world, for my legacy on the planet, because I want to make a globally engaged workforce, and I want to help people wake up, which is what Quality Mind's all about, and live their full potential. So with elite athletes, for instance, we call it a 100-point plan. They come off the ground, they then start their 100-point plan. And that means they meditate, they'll get a massage, they'll go to the coach and get one thing they're good at and one thing they need to improve at based on the game. They'll usually do some Pilates or something, but they have a breakdown they have to get done by Tuesday, usually on the weekend. So there's a 100-point plan they do, so they just release everything from the game. And so they go in through the week free and light, not carrying the game whatsoever, because if you start carrying things, then you start getting weighed down in your mind to your body, which can create injuries. And then you go into the next game free. So the best, when it comes to high performance with an elite athlete, it's about the week, not the game, because the game is already etched into their memory in terms of the skills they need, but it's the week in between the games that's where the hard work is, making sure you clean down in the mind all the way through. And then our athletes are all playing very good sport because of it.
Yeah, I guess that relates as well to business owners and executives. It's having that light head, sort of, that free hearts and just being able to take the right steps because you've done what you need to do to just look forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is a ritual in terms of mind management and body. Your body and mind need to be equal. So you've got to look after yourself. What sort of a physical activity are you doing? How are you eating? We all know that's not rocket science, but keeping your body, mind, and soul all balanced. Yeah. Body, mind, and soul all balanced. If they're not balanced, one will tell you which isn't balanced. So then you got to go and balance it up. And then when you get in flow with your body, mind, and soul, then life comes at you as opposed to you chasing life. Wow. And so you start to raise your vibration in terms of frequency to attract, because you're more in sync with the three major elements of our system. And
so here's a question that I got from one of my clients, actually, so to pass on to you. The question is, like, in relation to high performance, do we always have to be at our peak performance, or is it okay to let it dip sometime, or be aware that it's dipping and letting it dip?
Well, let's determine what peak performance is. Peak performance is playing at a high rate, okay? So you're going to the game and you're playing in a peak environment. So peak thinking, I guess, or it's quite interesting because actually if you're playing and you're thinking, you're actually holding yourself back. So peak performance, well, yes, but at the same time, as I say, when you come off the ground or you come out of a meeting or a big workshop or a seminar as an employee, you've got to clean down. So it's about getting to a peak and then bringing it down a level of cog or two cogs to sort of continually clean down and then go back up, do your stuff, then go back down. It's like you're going in for a shower, then you go back to life. You go in for a shower and go back for life, to the real life, as in the day-to-day living. But what we don't do is we don't shower our mind. We shower our body. We don't shower our soul. And to shower your soul is through meditation. To shower your mind is to manage your mind. And I can go really deep into this one, Marv.
That's right. No, it seems like the key point that I'm getting is really to listen to your body, mind, and soul when you are dipping, what's causing the dip? Like, what are you neglecting? And you know, maybe you need to take a step back because your body's telling you to step back or your mind's telling you to step back.
You've nailed it on the head. It's about listening and actually stepping back and closing your eyes and going within and getting used to talking to that master within you, because you'll hear it pretty quickly where you need to stop or where you need to go.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a question here, but I guess you've answered it, which one of the most common excuses that people use is, I don't have the time to do whatever it is that say they want to do, right? And I was going to ask you, how do you overcome that? And I guess that, again, listening to your inner voice and knowing whether it's the child or the master speaking, and it's are you being drawn to that activity or not?
What you could say is procrastination. Again, make a list. Is it in your priority list? And the fact of the matter is it a priority? Is it something you really need to do? If it is something you really need to do, then you've got to go in and check in with yourself and figure out where the conversation's coming from. Is it little child trying to keep you safe because it's actually a big deal to get this thing done, and it's a bit of a risk or something where the child's trying to keep you safe? So I'll worry about that tomorrow. I don't want to face that. You know, it could be a bit treacherous, or someone mightn't like this bullshit. Get through that, and so then you just get it done. So it's a decision in your mind's eye.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I see that a lot, and that's a key, especially with the corporate athletes. You know, they tend to neglect their physical aspect of themselves, right? They don't keep themselves in good shape to get them through the day, the week, the quarter, so that they have plenty of energy spare, you know, for the family and to live their lives as well. And
a good practice to get into is, before you walk into the family door, sit in the car for 10 minutes and do a meditation. Because it'll stop you from snapping at the kids and this,
bringing work home.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. While we're at that, a few of our listeners as well are parents and also educators. And I know you've got a batch of young kids now that you're looking after as well. What advice would you have for parents and educators in order to create environments that would foster this, engagement, high performance habits in the family within these children?
Yeah, it's interesting because I work with a bunch of kids at different ages at the moment as my philanthropic, and their parents come in, and it really comes down to whether the child wants to be a high performing. Like, I've got a golfer coming in actually in 2 hours, a 16-year-old kid who wants to be a professional golfer. Sure. He comes in with his parents, and I have to meet the parent to see what sort of force is being pushed upon the child to start with. But if the child is generally focused, then they don't need a lot of pushback in terms of the parent. Well, definitely just consistency in what is required, but not overbearing consistency, as in let the kid grow and make mistakes and encourage mistakes. I think that's a critical lesson here. And but most importantly, teaching the child how to think very clearly from the get-go, because a child can really go down the rabbit hole quick and lose their stuff in the game or in the heat of the moment. So it's getting to, okay, so what happened with your thinking just then? Just stop then. Where did you go? Where did you go then? And then getting them to actually track back into their mind where that conversation started, and then going back and reframing that conversation so we start changing the neurons in their head. So these bad habits are inclined purely because they watch athletes throw their tennis racket or whatever, so they think that that's normal when they go into this pattern. So if you want an elite athlete as a child, it's about letting them grow, make mistakes, be consistent as an educator, but most importantly, get them to actually look into their thinking so they can combat any roadblocks in any circumstance, because this quite simply will allow them to manage pressure better than their opponent.
I guess that sort of applies as well to a child that wants to excel in academics. And it comes back to your point again about the parents being the leaders and their ability to listen to what the child really wants and help them debrief their thinking as well, right, and process.
Look, I've got a 4-year-old at home, Marv, and I'm now having these conversations with her. It's like when she, throws something on the ground, I'll say, walk me through the thinking process behind that once she settles down, obviously, not in the fire. it never works. But then, and it's recently that she's starting to make better decisions, and I can see her mind actually going through the machinations of this decision-making process at 4. And then like the other day, she says to me, "Oh, Daddy, I actually thought through that differently today." Like, this is from a 4-year-old. So imagine with that teaching, from 4, monitoring our thinking all the way through into schoolyard years when kids get bullied and so forth. So if they can do it, everyone can do it. In fact, we've got one of our coaches who's going through the Quality Mind program now. He's 60 years old, and he's probably excelling more than most with reframing his whole concept of the way he just talks to himself and so forth, which just basically says any old dog can learn new tricks.
Right.
So look, at everything starts here and finishes in the body, and then obviously, and then ends out in your environment based on how you project the thinking through your body language.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's really cool. So one final question would be around engagement with families. So, any tips on creating an engaged family?
Well, I would run the family program. Basically getting everyone together every fortnight, talking about the behaviours that they all agree to, and getting everyone to buy into the behaviours. So there's no us against them. There's no rules for different circumstances. That's the critical starting point, getting everyone to buy into the behaviours. Now, if the behaviours aren't being held accountable, to sit back down and reassess, not saying this is the behaviour we need, put it on the table and let the behaviours rise, and then everyone picks off what they want and we all agree. Being able to have honest and transparent conversations in front of everyone. Okay, get to the stage where everyone's around the table having dinner, or maybe dinner's finished and we have you could call it a performance meeting or a family meeting, and just get to the point, what do I need to do as a father? What's one thing I need to do as a father to be better? And what is one area that you actually enjoy that I'm good at? Really simple stuff like that. And then everyone can share maybe once every couple of nights something different. Sharing stories of the day, Marv. I mean, that's a really simple yet powerful concept. And also rewarding, recognising people in the family, just telling them what they're doing well, regularly. You could nearly do it every finish with every dinner, saying, who would you like to nominate and what reason for in terms of performance this week or the last fortnight. So people can start recognising good performance and happy attitudes and not being moody and this, that, and the other. So, there's a multiple of ideas. There's 3 or 4 to begin with.
It makes so much sense in terms of these are the things that we do at the highest level of teams and companies, and why are they too good for us to apply it at home with the people that matter the most? So Rich, so thank you so much for all the inputs. This has been a really enlightening call, and everyone, I'll put the link to Rich's companies on the page here. Do get in touch if you want to know more information about all the cool stuff he's working on. Thank you so much, Rich, and I'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.